Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video.
Okay, I purchased a bunch of die cuts, and I'm going to show you some ways to use some. And I'm going to play with, let's see, there's snowflakes and ornaments, and they came in different colors. I might have more than one set here, but so like I said, they came in different colors, and one of the colors was this lighter green color, and I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I could definitely use it, but that's really not my favorite color. I really like the darker green. So what would happen if I just was to offset a little bit? So that's what I'm going to do. And the way I'm going to do that is turn over the dark green one, and then I'm going to use my Zig glue pen. I'm choosing to use this because you have a lot of control over it, not going off the edges. If I was to use a glue stick, I'm sure I'd go over the edge, or if I used a liquid glue, it would go over the edge. And this Zig works really pretty good. You would need to let it dry overnight. But so I am just going to go ahead and I am going to start with my big deer figure right here. And I'm just pushing down on that and bring it up so that maybe you can see a little bit of shine there. That's the adhesive going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trace out all the designs. I want to get quite a bit of glue on here, but again with the Zig pen I'm not worried about it leaking out. Okay, now that I have that all glued, and by the way, I'm working on my glass surface that protects my other work surface. And I'm going to put that on, and I'm just going to put it a little bit offset from my other one. And you can see I'm getting a nice little shadow effect. So I am just pressing down on that. Okay. So I am pressing down on that, and then I'm going to use a brayer on it, but I don't want to have it stick to my paper. So I'm just going to use a piece of scrap paper and put it right over the top, and just use my brayer, adding a little bit of pressure to it. That presses it down pretty well. A rolling pin from the kitchen, that would be perfect. That would work as well. So I'd let it dry overnight before I handled it a lot. So I am going to come back and I am going to put that on a card for you. So now I'm going to audition what I might like behind my card. That's not actually as bad as I thought it would be, but it's a little bit too much of a design for me. That one's not bad, but again the design is quite large. That one's not so bad. And let's try this one. I think I like this one. The diamonds aren't too big, so I'm going to use that one. And I've checked my 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I wanted to use for the back, and I see that I just kind of folded it a little bit. It's not a lot of room around the edges, so let's fold that in half first and see what we end up with. So I have my handy dandy scoreboard here. Let's see if we can zoom out a little bit. Here we go. And this paper has a little bit of texture to it, so I want that to be the outside. This side is smooth, so I want that to be the inside. So I'm going to put my paper on there. It's 8.5 11. So half of the 11 is 5.5 inches, and I'm just going to score down there. You don't want to score push too hard because you don't want to go through your cardstock. And then you're going to fold towards, you know, this is the outside, so where I scored, that score line's actually going to be on the outside. So when I fold it, it's on the outside. And I will just take my score and work that down just a little bit. So I'm taking my score, just pressing on around the edge there. That just kind of burnishes that down a little bit. Gives you a nice crisp fold. So if I took my card, I could have a little bit of an edge on that, but I'm not going to have much, and I really want this on there. So I opened up my my silver foil piece, and the only edge I'm really going to be concerned with is this folded edge. I want to make sure that this edge is right on that, but beyond that, it's going to overhang. That's going to be fine. So I am going to put my glue stick adhesive. This is, let's see, we'll zoom back up here. This is my Craft Bond glue stick by Elmer's. It's extra strength. Find it works really well. So I am getting pretty close to that edge because I'm really concerned about that edge. And I'm going to go ahead and just paste down the whole piece here. So I want a smooth amount of glue on there. I don't want it to be, I don't want having lumps or bumps in it. So so we're just kind of smoothing that down. Okay, then I'm going to take my material here and I'm going to carefully line that up, that edge up right here with the fold of my card. And because I use this glue stick, I have a little bit of wiggle room with that, so I'm not concerned about that. And then I'd use my brayer to press it down a little bit. So I am going to take out my glass piece, bring up a cutting mat, place it on my cutting mat, and I have my handy dandy ceramic rotary blade, which I really like. So I don't have anywhere near the safety concerns with this, and you should watch my video on rotary cutter blades to see what you might want. So you see my folded edge there. I got pretty close to the edge. So I am going to trim that off a bit. And since this is a big portion, I can probably use it again. I am going to turn my ruler right side up. And I'm just going to trim that off. I'm not being real careful that I get it perfect because I know my card's a little bit smaller than this, but I just want an overall size. So I'm preserving as much of the leftover here. So I'm preserving as much of the leftover as I could. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, just kind of trim that over. Okay, so I used my Zig pen to put some adhesive on all these little smaller spots. And I put some red line tape on some of the larger spots. I used some that was really quite narrow here. That's going to help it adhere to this shiny surface because that's not going to stick real well otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and peel my tape off. So I'm going to take my card front or my base. I have a little bit of glue sticking out over there, so I'm just going to fold that back and a little bit of cling tape on me. There we go. And I'm just going to line my light green edge with the edge of that silver foil. I know that I've got a little bit of, I'm kind of centering it because I knew my cardstock was big enough to cover it. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to just press that all down with my finger first, and then maybe I'll use my brayer. So then you don't want to let that set overnight with a book on it or something. So I'm getting out my cutting mat, and I'm going to place my card on there. Now this is kind of thick, so I'm actually going to stand up to do my cutting. Lining my ruler up with the top edge. And I'm going to press down quite hard. And I'm probably going to cut it a couple of times just to be secure. So we've got our card pretty much made, but the top is really heavy compared to the back side, so we're going to need to put something in here. So I am going to go ahead and take my embosser and put my mark on the back side. And then I'm going to find something to put here in the middle. So I'm going to do something with a piece of white cardstock for that, for the middle. So I am going to take a pencil, and I am just going to mark around my card a little bit. And I'm going to take my cutter, and I am going to turn it this way and cut. See, that would be a 1/4 inch, but I think I want a 1/4 inch on each side, so I need to go to a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to line my ruler up a 1/2 inch from my mark. Get that out of the way, and then I'm going to do the same thing the other way, vertical, and see, there's my mark. So I want to come up a 1/2 inch from that. And just cut my card. Okay. Now I like to have rounded corners, so I am going to get a paper rounder, and I am going to do that for you. I decided to use this cream color instead of the white, just so it wouldn't be quite so stark against this dark green. So again, I'm checking to make sure that my card's about the right size. And then I am going to take my corner punch. So here I'm going to take my corner punch and just punch the sides. You really need to make sure that you get that all the way in your punch, otherwise you'll be disappointed with your corner. Okay, so I put my rubber stamp on my card. I used a glue stick. This time I used Scotch permanent glue stick to put it on. Put it on there, just pressing it down. It's a good idea to let your sentiment dry before you glue it on, just so you don't smear it. And now my card's a little bit better balanced because I've got weight on the front side and weight on the back side, and I have put my signature on the back as well.